Hey guys, welcome back. This is Pop Culture Network Radio on popculturenetwork.com. I am your host, Dirt, and today we actually have some sad news to open up with. News has just broken in the last couple hours that Lou Scheimer has passed away. For those of you who think, that name sounds familiar, but I'm not really sure who he is, he was one of the original founders of Filmation. He was the executive producer of a bunch of different animated TV series, including Star Trek the Animated Series, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Fat Albert, The New Adventures of Superman, Aquaman, The Batman Superman Hour, Flash Gordon, Tarzan, and the ones he's best known for, Ghostbusters, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, She-Ra Princess of Power, and Brave Star. He did have some health problems the last few years. He underwent quadruple bypass surgery. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, but he did win an Emmy. He did win a Grammy. He got several nominations. He also received an Annie for Special Achievement in Animation in 2003. So I know a lot of you guys who are fans of Masters of the Universe, She-Ra Princess of Power, Star Trek the Animated Series, things like that. He was the driving force behind a lot of those shows. Mighty Mouse, Lone Ranger, I mean, just tons and tons and tons of stuff. Close to 70 shows that he worked on. So, a lot of stuff under his belt. We're sad to see that he's passed on, and everyone here at Pop Culture Network will be sending their prayers and well wishes to the family for dealing with this difficult time. I hate to open with a downer with sad news, but I mean, if nothing else, you know, a lot of times when someone passes away, the key is not to be saddened by their passing as much as celebrating the wonderful things that they did. So for those of you who, you know, grew up on those cartoons of the 80s, and those are the, the cartoons that really kind of, defined your childhood, just think back on all the wonderful things that he gave you and the wonderful things that he did as an animator, as a producer, that meant so much to you. And maybe stop by his Facebook page, leave some well wishes or something like that, just to let the family know that you are thinking of them at this time. Now, some of you, no doubt, can hear it in my voice. I am fighting a cold right now. I've had a terrible week myself. Besides having a head cold and a slight fever. Also, a couple nights ago, my daughter decided to play with a golf ball that she found, and when she was done playing with it, she left it on the steps. And I only happened to find it when I stepped on it, coming down the steps, landed my tailbone, hit my back, my shoulders, my arms, and I hurt my knee pretty bad. We have a shoe rack at the bottom of the steps, these little shelves that the kids are supposed to put their shoes on, and of course I jammed my leg into it, falling down the steps, and it, shoved the knee back up into my chest, and had some swelling. Got a steroid shot basically in my knee to reduce the swelling, and I'm on antibiotics because of the cold. So I'm not sure how long the show is going to last. Had a bit of a sore throat a couple days ago. It hasn't been too bad, but I'm not sure how much talking I have in me. So we're going to go over some things quickly. We're going to answer some email questions and different things that people have sent to me this week. And then also, I want to announce that next week's show will be on October 25th. It'll be the week right before Halloween, and we got a request to cover the Halloween movies, just like I did Friday the 13th movies a couple weeks ago. Actually, it was the pilot episode, the premiere episode of Pop Culture Network Radio. So, asked to cover the Halloween movies for Halloween holiday. So we're going to do that. So if you have some comments or any particular questions about the Halloween movies, then I encourage you to drop me a line, let me know, and we will work those into next week's episode talking about the Halloween movies. So if you want to send me an email, it's dirt@popculturenetwork.com. You can send them to me on Twitter @PCN_dirt. You can send them to my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/VGlosers. You can stop by the forums at jointheforums.com, the official message boards of the Pop Culture Network. Or you can send us a voicemail on our 24-hour voicemail line. It's area code 217-953-4025. And any of those places, you can feel free to leave a message, ask a question, leave a comment. Keep it short and sweet, and we will work those into the episode as best that we can. Just some quick things to talk about. Scotty Cash this week put up a review of the Real Monsters DVD series. You can check that out if you were a fan of that. That was one of his favorite things growing up. I just got a review copy of all things The Gambler, the original movie starring Kenny Rogers and Bruce Boxleitner, guy who played Tron. Tron saved my life. So I'll be watching that sometime the next week, doing a review of that. They sent me the Blu-ray and DVD combo. So if you've ever wanted to see Kenny Rogers in pure high-definition Blu-ray, that is now available. Tim Dog from the Click Nation did a couple reviews for us this week of comics, talking about Uncanny X-Men 13 and Superior Spider-Man 19. I think today I might quickly talk about a couple comics that I read, just to get those in there. I wasn't able to do the Click Nation podcast last night. I've been sleeping horribly, just horribly, the past few nights with this sinus infection, waking up all hours of the night. It has not been fun. So I'll talk a little bit about some comics. But we do have some news, some toy news here we can talk about. First up, Funko has announced that they are releasing a Star Wars papercraft playset. Now, basically what that means is that it's hard cardboard, and you'll punch it out and fold it and make it into different shapes. And with those shapes, you'll build different characters and scenes from Star Wars. These appear to be based off Empire Strikes Back. Not sure if they're going to be any other movies. But it's basically all fold and tab. No scissors, no tape, no glue. They've got the carbonite freezing chamber from Cloud City. And then they've also got the spot where Darth Vader and Luke have their confrontation. And Luke gets his hand chopped off. Let's see. You get Darth Vader. You get Lando Calrissian. You get Chewbacca. You get, looks like Princess Leia, Boba Fett, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Han Solo in carbonite. This is part of their Boxos line, B-O-X-O-S, and available at retailers nationwide. And, it's funny, because about 2 months ago, I was having a conversation with somebody about doing papercraft playsets. I was wondering how much it would cost to put stuff like that together. There was an old playset, I think it was put out by Remco, that was a papercraft playset that was in the scale of Masters of the Universe figures, because Remco did all those, kind of knockoff lines. And so I was just kind of wondering if that would be something that could still be done today. And then they announced this. Those SOBs. Ugh. But if anybody wants to put together some papercraft playsets, some manufacturing, you want to do a Kickstarter or something, let me know. Maybe we can talk about that. Some other toy news. Ron Burgundy Collectibles for Anchorman 2, The Legend Continues. The movie comes out in December. You can pre-order some of these collectibles right now from your local comic book shop. They are due in January. First up, they're going to have a bust, a fake bronze-style bust of Ron Burgundy, $29.95. It's basically, if you've ever seen libraries, universities, they'll have a bust of like a great coach or of Mozart or Einstein or somebody like that. You can get a Ron Burgundy bust. There's also going to be a new 13-inch doll. They call it an action figure, but, let's face it. It's 13 inches, and it's got cloth clothes. It's a doll. $49.95. That is due the 15th of January. Both of these, like I said, you can pre-order now. If you would like to pre-order, you can pre-order from shoppcn.com. Get a hold of Killen. Let them know you'd like to order those. Prepay, and we can ship them to you when they come out. I didn't mean for that to be a commercial plug. It just kind of turned into it halfway through, and I thought, why not? We'll just run with it. Interesting piece of news came out from Marvel, from New York Comic Con. They announced that they are working on Marvel Universe Live. This is a new live-action arena event. If you've ever been to one of those, like Ice Capades or the Batman Stunt Show or something like that, they're going to do a Marvel Universe Live show. And this one is supposedly not as kid-centric as some of the other ones, like the Batman Stunt Show, is really for little kids. Not to say that it won't be appropriate for children, but not necessarily, if you're 20-something, you're not going to be bored to death by the overly simple storyline. Apparently, it's going to be a little more adult-friendly. No nudity. They're not going to be showing boobies or anything like that. But anyway, that's going to be coming around starting next year. So I would assume big arenas first. They haven't announced any dates or locations yet, but I'm going to assume, your standard New York, LA, Denver, Chicago, St. Louis, Miami, Orlando. Those big arenas will hit first, and then we'll see if maybe it'll go to some of the other smaller places as time goes by. Some of the other news from New York Comic Con that we finally got all the info on is that, Marvel Now was Marvel's big thing a couple years ago. DC did their New 52, so Marvel did Marvel Now, try to get people excited. And so Marvel has decided that Marvel Now is such a big hit, they're going to do the all-new Marvel Now. And they're going to start a whole bunch of new books, and they're going to bring new creative teams on some of the long-running books that they have. And so what we can talk about here is all new Ghost Rider #1 by Philippe Smith and Trad Moore. All new X Factor #1, which will be Peter David returning to X Factor. He just ended his run on that book, but they are bringing it back for all new Marvel Now. And he's going to be working with Carmine Di Giacondamentio. I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry about that. I totally butchered that name, but it's not going to get any better than that if I try again. All new X-Men is actually getting a Point Now book. All new X-Men 22 Point Now, which is the all new X-Men #1 in the all new Marvel Now universe. Brian Michael Bendis staying on as writer. Stuart Immonen is the artist. Avengers AI #8 Point Now. Sam Humphries and Andre Arroyo. I'm guessing is how you pronounce that one. Avengers Undercover 1, new series by Dennis Hopeless and Kev Walker. And Kev Walker, I actually like his artwork. I first saw it in 2000 AD, and then he did some Marvel Zombies stuff. It's pretty good stylized stuff, but I enjoy it. Jonathan Hickman is bringing a new series working with Nick Spencer called Avengers World, with Stefano Caselli as the artist on that one. Black Widow getting a book. A lot of people excited for that one. Nathan Edmondson and Phil Noto. And Phil Noto, I like saying his name that way. Noto sounds like photo. Usually does a lot of covers, but he'll be doing the entire interior artwork on that. That'll be pretty cool. Rick Remender starting Captain America 16 Point Now with Pascal Alixi and Nick Klein as the artists. Captain Marvel #1, which I'm guessing is going to be all new Captain Marvel #1, even though it doesn't specifically say all new. But Kelly Sue DeConnick still writing that one. David Lopez, the artist. Elektra #1 from Zeb Wells and Mike Del Mundo. Guardians of the Galaxy 11 Point Now by Bendis and Sarah Pichelli. Iron Patriot 1. Which looks to be Rhodey War Machine, going to be having the Iron Patriot armor last worn by Norman Osborn. Written by Alex Cott and artwork by Gary Brown. Loki, Agent of Asgard by Al Ewing and Lee Garbett. Good to see Lee Garbett back. Really liked Lee Garbett's work on Batgirl a couple years ago, so that'd be fun. New Warriors #1 by Christopher Yost and Marcus II. Punisher #1. This one's interesting. This is by Nathan Edmondson and Mitch Gerads, or Jared's, I'm not sure. They are the guys who work on The Activity at Image, which is a military book. Fantastic. If you've ever liked any of the stuff, Born Identity or the newer James Bond films, The Activity is that kind of high-octane 24, if you saw 24, that kind of stuff. They're taking over Punisher, so it looks to have more of a military bent to it, so that'd be fun. Savage Wolverine 14 Point Now, Richard Eisenov, writer and artist. Secret Avengers 1 by Alex Cott and Michael Walsh. Silver Surfer 1 by Dan Slott and Mike Allred. Superior Spider-Man 27 Point Now Dan Slott still remaining on Superior Spider-Man with Giuseppe Camuncoli. Again, terrible names. I apologize. Thunderbolts 20 point now. Charles Soule and Carlo Barberi. And then plus, they've already announced some other point nows. Avengers 24 point now, All New Invaders #1, Inhuman 1, and She-Hulk 1. So those are the big Marvel books. I mean, there's your lineup. Pretty much the big hitters of the Marvel Universe starting in 2014. We talked last week about some of the DC news, the new weekly Batman series, and that kind of stuff. So that's what's coming from Marvel. Let's see. I think that's really all the news. Well, I guess, okay, a couple people want to know about this one. This is we've got a thing at the bottom. If you go to the front page of popculturenetwork.com and go to the bottom, you can see what's trending. Trending stories. And I guess the two trending stories that I need to bring up, besides last week's episode of Pop Culture Network Radio, which is still trending on the front page. That's cool. First up, IDW is bringing new My Little Pony micro comics. These micro fun pack comics available November 15th. Featuring Pinkie Pie, Fluttershy, Rainbow Dash, and Applejack. These will be 5 3/4 inches by 3 3/4 inches. So it's more of a pocket-size book. Each micro fun pack comes with a complete 22-page micro comic book that's been reformatted for the size. On top of adjusting for size, the content of the book has been updated as well, with a 2-page My Little Pony playset splash page in the middle of each book, which provides the perfect backdrop for arranging the removable sticker also included in each pack. In addition, the 3-page How to Draw tutorial has been added to each issue, sure to bring joy to any aspiring artist. On top of the comic and sticker, each package also includes one of 16 different fold-out posters and tattoos. Now, I know some of you out there are not bronies, and you're kind of groaning at this and rolling your eyes and whatever, and I'm not a brony either. I don't get into My Little Pony, but I have a daughter. My daughter loves My Little Pony, so if it's a comic book, it's My Little Pony, I have to buy it for her. Because I'm the comic guy. I can get away with not buying some of the toys sometimes because they get a little expensive. But as far as the comics go, I'm going to have to buy these for my daughter. And that's just how it works. There's no two ways about it. The other news that has been trending and gotten people pretty excited, this is the news that Zack Whedon, brother of Joss Whedon, is going to be writing a new follow-up to Serenity as a comic for Dark Horse Comics. This is going to be in canon, which means everything that happens in this comic book is, it counts. It's basically true. If they do another movie, if they find a way of doing another TV series for TNT or TBS or something, if they do an animated thing, whatever, any follow-up to Serenity, this comic storyline counts. So if you love the show Firefly, if you love the movie Serenity, if you're into all of that stuff, then this is where the storyline continues for you. Artwork by, the guy who did Buffy season 8 and 9, George Jante, I guess is how you pronounce that. And if you're not familiar with Zack Whedon, he actually did a Terminator story a couple years ago for Dark Horse. That was actually pretty cool. It was like Terminator 2084, and then it became Terminator 1984 as they went back in the past. It was fun. It was really well done. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So, if you're a big fan, of course, then you're going to want to check those out. All right, that's going to do it as far as news. That's as much news as I think I'm going to run into with all of that. We are going to talk about a couple other stuff. A lot of you guys, I've been talking about pro wrestling. You guys have been giving me some good feedback on that. So I guess, the pro wrestling guys, they're getting more stuff because they're the ones giving us the feedback. So all of you guys who are not wrestling fans, you want to talk about some other stuff, now's the time to pipe up. You got to send me those emails. You got to post in the forums. You got to do all that stuff. So this first, Clone Yoshi says, I've started to get into wrestling from Dirt talking about it on the show. I was wondering what night it's on, what channel they are broadcast on, if you know. The big shows are Monday Night Raw. That's on the USA Network, and it runs 7 Central to 10 Central. And there's Overrun. Runs to about 10:15, actually. It goes a little bit long. Then there's TNA Impact, and that is on Spike TV on Thursdays, and that is 8 Central to 10 Central. And then there is WWE SmackDown on Sci-Fi on Fridays from 7 to 9 Central. Those are the big three. TNA, WWE, your big shows. There are other WWE shows, like Main Event is on Ion, and I think it's from 7 to 8 on Wednesdays. There's a TNA show called Explosion, but it is, as far as I know, it's not available in the United States. It's a worldwide show, broadcast, other countries as kind of a recap show, and I don't think there's any original wrestling, but it'll show like highlights of Impact. It's basically places that don't get Impact or just want some other show to show sometime during the week. The other big wrestling show that you need to be aware of is Ring of Honor. And as far as I know, it's just called ROH Wrestling. And it's owned, ROH as a company got bought out by Sinclair Broadcasting, and they broadcast the show on their Sinclair stations. Now, you have to have a Sinclair station in order to get the show. We have one. Luckily, our ABC affiliate is a Sinclair station, so they play it. But the thing is, they play it whenever they want to fit it into the schedule. So, for instance, here in our town, it's on at like 11 o'clock Saturday nights. There are other places that'll play it at noon on Sunday. Other places will play it, Monday at midnight. It just really, it depends on your market. So you need to check out Sinclair Broadcasting, see if you have an affiliate in your area, and then you can check out the show. The only other big wrestling show I can think of that you can check out regularly used to be WWE Saturday Morning Slam, and that was the kid-friendly show. And that was the one that my son and I would always watch together. But they haven't brought it back this season, unless it just started. And so I don't know what happened with that. It was part of Cookie Jar TV on, I think it was on Fox in the morning, or maybe in the CW in the morning. I don't remember. But it's disappeared, and I don't know if it's coming back or not. So, hard to say. So those are the big wrestling shows every week. Claude Yoshi also asked, who's my favorite wrestler? I mean, that's a tough call. Are we talking all time? If we're going to talk all time, I'd probably go with Pat O'Connor, like I talked about in the past. Great unsung wrestling hero, but that's, to pick a weird guy just to, like, try to be cool, Like, well, I like this wrestling guy that you guys don't know about. So I picked Pat O'Connor. But, I mean, really, if you're going to be talking about, like, the mainstream guys, like, everybody loved Hogan growing up. And you can't really dispute the great storylines he had and the wonderful things, but, everybody loved Macho Man, stuff like that. I loved Snitsky when Snitsky was on. I thought he was a great villain. They had some great stuff with him. When he drop-kicked the baby, that was classic. That was brilliant. They should have never gotten rid of Snitsky. That made me sad the day he was gone. My favorite wrestler right now, if I'm going to pick somebody who's wrestling right now, I might go with Bobby Roode, just because he is such a great wrestler. AJ Styles is very good. He's had some problems as of late. I think Bobby Roode is a better technical wrestler, more of an old school wrestler. May not be as great as like a high flyer showman. I think Austin Aries is really good today. Those two both have incredible matches. As far as the WWE side, CM Punk has been on a tremendous streak for the last, 5-6 years, ever since he kind of found himself in ECW, in the WWE ECW, and I think he's had a tremendous run. He still does incredibly good matches. So, those are some of the top guys. Pick one favorite. That's like, what's your one favorite TV show, or what's your one favorite song? I don't know that I can really, boil stuff down that easily. But, one favorite movie. That's Tron. That's easy. Let's see. Let's see. The Barbecue Vulture sent in an email, and he said, quick question regarding TNA and the AJ Styles contract situation. Who in TNA do you think WWD would be interested in taking should he or she become available? What would they add to the company? Well, as far as who's on the TNA roster, there's not a lot of people that WWE is actually in any way interested in. They're kind of interested in Sting and Hulk Hogan just to put together some sort of WrestleMania moment or some sort of Hall of Fame moment. But, I mean, beyond that, the problem is WWE really hates bringing someone in who's already established in another company because they want to own the name. And we kind of talked about this last week, talking about some of the stuff going on with them. It's kind of why WWE isn't really hot on AJ Styles right now, because AJ Styles owns his name. You know, WWE, if they sell an AJ Styles t-shirt, they have to give AJ Styles a cut. Whereas if they have some guy like Antonio Cesaro, they own that name. They technically own that character. They don't have to pay him for using that. So, who would they really be interested? If TNA were to fall tomorrow, and I was in WWE and I could grab talent, I would make a play for Sting, of course. I don't know if Sting would go. He's kind of backed off of his stance from the last few years, I think, because WWE has been trying to do a more family-friendly product. I think he appreciates that. But I don't know if he'd go. But who would I make a play for that's in there right now that I think would be good? Well, I think Mike Knox would be great to come back as a heel. Again, Austin Aries, Chris Sabin, Bobby Roode. I think those are guys that would all be great. The one thing that they could do with them is if they brought those guys in and had them as a heel stable in WWE. Because, the Shield is breaking apart, and a three-man band, I guess, hasn't taken off like it was supposed to. All of that kind of stuff. They could bring them in as a heel, faction, have them run roughshod over a bunch of people, get a bunch of title shots, shoot them to the top, and then they'd have a bunch of guys at the top. Chris Sabin could drop down to an IC title guy. I think Austin Aries and Rude could both be, Austin Aries and CM Punk in a feud would be fabulous. I think if those guys had a long run, that would be just tremendous. I think Rude is one of those guys that could have... He could take a guy like John Cena and put in some... They could have some great stuff. Like, if you remember Batista right before he left, Batista and John Cena had matches that were actually great, and people couldn't believe it. Because, it's John Cena. He's got, 19 moves in his moveset? And it was Batista, who nobody really had a whole lot of confidence in after he left Evolution. But as it turned out, those guys together did some great promos. They had some great stories. They had some great matches, and everything kind of clicked. And I think, Bobby Roode could be another one of those guys who could do something like that. They could bring in a bunch of tag teams. They need some tag guys, bring in Ego, or I guess Bad Influence, technically who they are, to come in and help bolster the tag team a little bit. I don't know if Bully Ray is someone that they would need to bring in. AJ Styles they could bring in, have him run as a face. He might run 9 months a year, and then they'd probably be done with him. I don't know that they'd have a lot of long-term plans for AJ Styles, which kind of sucks for AJ Styles. But that's just kind of how I see that playing out. All right, since we're talking about wrestling here, I think maybe we should talk a little bit about Impact Wrestling from this week. This is the go-home show for Bound for Glory, and Bound for Glory is their big pay-per-view of the year. It's what they consider their WrestleMania, I guess. And so the go-home show for Bound for Glory was actually not very good. The show last week was 10 times better than this show. This show was not terrible. It's not a show that made you feel bad for watching it like some of the Russo era shows on TV, but it just wasn't great. It didn't make you, oh my gosh, I got to buy this pay-per-view now to see what happens. You kind of felt that more after last week. This week, the big storyline was Dixie Carter offered up a $50,000 bounty for someone to take out AJ Styles with a briefcase full of fake money. They showed it to the camera real quick, and if you paused, you could see that the $100 bills were fake. It was not Benjamin Franklin on the front. It was a guy with a head of hair. And then at the end, AJ Styles grabs the briefcase and throws it at Dixie Carter, opens it up, dumps the money out. And the $100 bills from Dollar General or whatever, when they fell off, the rest of it was $1 bills. So they basically had a briefcase full of $50 in ones and a bunch of fake $100 bills from the dollar store. So it was kind of silly as far as that goes, but it was a fun, kind of old school pro wrestling angle. But it wasn't the greatest thing. The matches were not fantastic. Most of them were really quick, which was part of the problem. There was a lot of talking on this show. They did a lot of backstage vignettes, and they did a lot of in-the-ring arguing and stuff like that, which, I mean, it's okay, but it takes away from the wrestling. And when you want someone to tune in to the pay-per-view, they really need to showcase some of these guys, I think, a little bit better. That's one thing that TNA does better than WWE in general, is have better matches, but they just didn't give them the time to really do it. They had a four corners match with a bunch of guys from different tag teams to see who was going to be in the tag team gauntlet match, the pre-show on Spike TV on Sunday. And Robbie E stole the pin, so the Bromans are going to be in that match. Let's see. We had Gunner versus Nux, which was this match was all sorts of problems. Garrett Bischoff, excuse me, he interfered right in front of the referee, and the referee couldn't do anything about it. He saw it. He wasn't supposed to see it. Just kind of, yelled at him. They tried to get out Bully Ray to run down to the ring and help him, but he didn't come out. So Gunner speared Nux and, put a little bit more, I don't know, animosity in between aces and eights. Gail Kim tried to warn Brooke Tessmacher about Lady Tappa, but Brooke wouldn't listen, and so Gail Kim kind of stormed off. It was pointless. Samoa Joe versus Chris Sabin. This was all right. This match was okay. Sabin ended up tapping out to Joe. And then it was only about 5 minutes. It wasn't anything that big. But then Austin Aries ran down. Jeff Hardy came down. They pulled out a ladder. Manic came down. And they were all doing a bunch of stuff to show up their Ultimate X match. And it was okay. Like, this is the type of thing they need to do to set up for that match being at the show. So this segment altogether was all right. They showed Daniels and Kazarian attacking AJ Styles backstage, basically trying to get that $50,000 bounty. And AJ Styles got a hold of a fire extinguisher, sprayed a bunch of it, and ran away. They've now said that Ethan Carter III, Ethan Carter III, excuse me, also known as EC3, said that he would make an appearance at Bound for Glory, and he's now apparently the nephew of Dixie Carter, so they are playing up that storyline. They had Bully Ray and Magnus. This was a 10-minute non-title match. It was okay, but Magnus just, I don't know, he looked kind of off. They did a ref bump. Bully Ray got out the chain and was going to hit Magnus. Steen came down to save Magnus from getting hit by the chain, but Hebner got in Sting's face. Ray gave Magnus a low blow, got the pin. Magnus got upset with Sting for interfering. So, really, Main Event Mafia is done. Aces and Eights are done. All of it's going to implode at Bound for Glory. I'm hoping that at least they do it fun. They have a good storyline for it at Bound for Glory. I am looking forward overall to the pay-per-view, but this didn't exactly help. One of the best thing on the show this night, though, was Kurt Angle came out, called out Bobby Roode. The two of them had this, big confrontation, yelling back and forth. They ended up getting into a battle. Angle got Roode into the ankle lock. Daniels and Kazarian ran down, threw Angle into the post. So Roode ordered the other guys to go back. Get out. I'm going to take care of this. He put Angle in the crossface, and Angle started tapping out, which, normally you wouldn't expect to see. Angle, he's coming back, making this big return. He taps out to the heel right before the show. But, that makes it clear that even though this is his return, and it's a Bound for Glory, it's the big show, it's in the air. Anybody could win. Even though Angle probably is going over, it's still good to put that, seed of doubt in there. So that was the best thing. The ending was terrible. It was like this huge, long contract signing. They had Dixie out there with the briefcase. No one had cashed it in, so they were going to sign the contract for the match. Ray signed it. AJ Styles, he signed it. And then Bully Ray decided that he was going to try to cash in to get the briefcase full of money. Attacked AJ Styles. Styles ducked, grabbed the briefcase, hit Ray with it. Ray bailed out of the ring, and then he dumped the money out, which you could see was fake, and that was it. So I don't know that really added anything to the match, going on this Sunday at Bound for Glory, other than the fact I think it would have been better if he had stolen the briefcase full of money. If he just hit Ray with it, grabbed the briefcase, gave Dixie Carter this look, and then took off running, especially because the storyline has been that he wants to win the title so that he can make money, make his kids proud, put food on the table. That's why he needs to be champion so he can have a contract and yada, yada, yada. And he doesn't keep the briefcase full of cash, which made really no sense. So anyway, let's see. As far as Bound for Glory, let's see. San Diego. Pre-show match on Spike is a tag team gauntlet. Robbie E. and Jesse Goddards, who are the Bromans, versus Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian, which is Bad Influence. Joseph Park and Eric Young, who I don't think they have a name, just two weirdos. Chavo Guerrero and Hernandez. Let's see, we're going to have ODB versus Gail Kim versus Brooke Tessmacher for the Knockouts title, which I'm sure Lady Tappa is going to run out, interfere, maybe even get herself in the match, win the title. Manic versus Jeff Hardy versus Chris Sabin versus Austin Aries versus Samoa Joe for the X title, which that is actually... that's going to be a great match. I can tell you right now. Bobby Roode versus Kurt Angle. That's going to be a great match. I cannot see that being a bad match. Sting versus Magnus may or may not be good. Magnus has proven himself to be a little green. Sting, usually when Sting's in a match, they try to have him in a tag match or something where he doesn't have to be as active as the other guys. I mean, the guy's, 55 years old? I mean, granted, he's in great shape. He could pass for a lot younger if he really wanted to. But I'm just not sure how great that's going to be. Bully Ray versus AJ Styles for the TNA title in a no DQ match. Here's kind of the problem. Part of the problem with this match is... because it's a no DQ match, and they're teasing the whole breakup of Aces and Eights, it would make sense in storyline. Bischoff and Nux will run down, interfere in the match, cost Bully Ray the title. That'll be the end of Aces and Eights. AJ Styles will win the title, become the new champion, and there you go. However, AJ Styles' contract is up at the end of the year. It would make no sense for them to put the title on him now, just to have him drop it to somebody in 2 months, just to get it off of him. So, you'd almost wonder if Aces and Eights are going to run down, interfere in the match, the ref will see it, well, but it's no DQ. So they can't do it that way in order to have AJ Styles win, but have Ray keep the title. So that doesn't work at all. The only other thing they could do is have Aces and Eights run out and beat up AJ Styles. And the whole thing was a swerve, and the guys have been getting along great this whole time and fooled everybody. But if that's the case, why would they do the backstage vignettes where it shows them breaking up? Because that's, technically a hidden camera, and the fans aren't supposed to know when that stuff's going on. So, I mean, they're really in a weird situation. That main event, the outcome of that is going to say a lot about what the future of AJ Styles is in TNA. If he does not win that title, then you can pretty much assume that he's gone. As far as Hulk Hogan, the latest on Hulk Hogan's return, possibly, is coming back to TNA. Apparently, he tried to send some feelers out to WWE. WWE made him an offer. He went back to TNA and Bischoff offered him more money, with basically the idea of, well, WWE wants him, so therefore we want them. So they offered him more money, and so it looks like he will be signing to go back to TNA, but they may be holding out a little bit for the reasons we've talked about in the past, just to kind of hold off on hitting the bottom line, so to speak, as far as that stuff goes. All right, we do have, I think that's going to wrap up wrestling. So that's going to wrap up the wrestling stuff. We do have some more questions here, though. Jobber on the forums, he wanted to know any chance you guys might bring back video game losers. Well, yes and no. And what do I mean by that? Yes and no. We have filmed some more reviews. If you remember, Killen and I, as part of Video Game Losers, would do these quick little reviews. They were like 5 minutes of us standing there talking about the game, showing some clips. We do have some of those in the can. And so we will be editing those and putting those reviews out. As far as talking about some of the video game news and the releases and that kind of stuff, the idea was always that those would be part of the show. And we've talked in the past, we've been having problems getting our studio space to do the show. We hate the format that we had been doing it, where we're just standing there in the store, randomly behind the display counter or in front of the racks, whatever. It looks like in December we may have our new retail spot, which will have our permanent studio spot in the back. And part of the show will be doing that same video game stuff, doing some of the toy stuff we did with That New Toy Smell, bringing that stuff back, adding it in, bringing in some of the comic book talk and bringing that stuff in. So all of that kind of stuff mixed around in there as part of the show once we officially kick that off and get it going the way that we want that to be. All right, one more question here. This is from Kevin Walsh. Hey, Kevin Walsh, the guy who makes the best custom figures, I can tell you that. Well, I don't want to say the best because then I'm going to hurt feelings, and Hunter Knight is going to come at me, and he's going to punch me in the nose next time he sees me. And there's a lot of guys that make some great customs out there. But Kevin Walsh makes some really great ones too, and we'll just leave it at that. I don't want to get in a fight with anybody. There's some guys that make some really great customs out there, and we'll leave it at that. Hey fellas, you guys check out any of the pics from New York Comic Con. Any thoughts on the amazing cosplay costumes that were there? Do you guys, or would you guys do cosplay? Any idea on who you would be? I'd love to hear your ideas. Also, Halloween's right around the corner. Do you guys get in the festivities and dress up? Honestly, I mean, unless it's like some really hot girl that someone's like, hey, take a look at this picture. I honestly don't really pay a lot of attention to cosplay stuff. It's just not my thing. And if you love it, you're into it, you love making the costumes. There are some people, NG Knight, she's my friend on Facebook. I've got lots of people out there. Rosemary Ward usually dresses up like Baroness and does all kinds of stuff and whatever. She's my friend on Facebook. I know people who are into that, and they love doing it, and that's great. And if you're a cosplay person, and you love what you do, and you want to post your pictures, you want to post them on our forum, whatever, go right ahead. I'm not going to belittle you. I'm not going to make fun of you. I have no problem with people who do that. It's just not my thing. Do I dress up for Halloween? Usually, no. Sometimes I have, just because it's easy for me. I grab a Dracula cape. I grab one of my wrestling masks. I grab like the TNA title belt playset or the old Muscle championship belt. Put on some sweats, and there's my costume. It's not usually easy to find a costume that's in the size big fat guy. So my prospects are somewhat limited on who I dress up as for Halloween. And usually, most of the time for Halloween, I'm chasing after the kids. They get dressed up and do stuff, and we walk around. We've kind of talked this year. My kids, they're old enough now, they're reading the Harry Potter novels. My son is going to be Harry Potter. My daughter wants to be Hermione. So I may end up dressing as Hagrid, which means basically I'll have to get a Duck Dynasty beard and see if I can find a fake fur coat or a big brown bathrobe. Just get like a nice terry cloth brown bathrobe, and I'll be Hagrid. And that's about all it would take for me to dress up as that. So that's a possibility I might do this year. But yeah, for the most part, it's just not typically the type of thing. I used to, I guess, when I was earlier, I used to do it a lot. But I had a friend who worked, there was a store here in town called the Party Tree. And the Party Tree always had masks, always had supplies, always has... If you think of the Spirit Halloween store run by Spencer Gifts, if you guys have ever seen those type of stores that pop up at the beginning of September, they stay through Halloween and then they, shut down. And they always move into some store that's, sitting there vacant at the time. The store used to be like that. My friend worked there, but it was open 24/7, 365. It was a full-time store that had that kind of stuff. So I used to buy stuff all the time that I really couldn't afford, but it was like, oh my gosh, look at this, Michael Myers Halloween authentic mask. It looked great. So I'd buy it, and I had all that kind of stuff. But, the last few years, my gut's gotten outrageously out of hand, and just not a lot of costumes for me to squeeze into, so I don't do it as much anymore. My wife is making me diet. I've maybe lost about 4 or 5 pounds in the last couple weeks on this diet that we're doing, so keep trying. If I slim down enough that I can fit into one of those costumes, then maybe I'll start dressing up like something again. But I don't know, maybe you got ideas. If you got a good costume for a big fat guy, maybe you can drop me a line, let me know. But otherwise, no, I don't usually dress up. But like I said, more power to you if you do. I got nothing wrong with that. So there you go. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for the show. I am going to need to blow my nose and get rid of a bunch of this snot. You're welcome. Glad I could share that with you. Don't forget, if you want to send me an email, it's dirt@popculturenetwork.com. Send it to me at Twitter at @PCN_dirt. You can come to the message boards at jointheforums.com, the official message boards of the Pop Culture Network, or official forums, if you prefer. Or you can call our 24-hour voicemail line. It's area code 217-953-4025. And again, that's 24 hours, 7 days a week. 3 o'clock in the morning, you're sitting on the toilet, bad case of diarrhea, you got nothing else to do, and you think, maybe I'll call in, leave some comments. Hey, feel free, 24/7. That's going to do it for me, guys. Don't forget, next week, we're talking the Halloween movies, so drop your thoughts and comments on those, and I'll talk to you guys next time.